Good.
I know I was already introduced, but my name's Jessica, and I'm going to be giving you guys a presentation about hypertension or high blood pressure. And I don't know how many of you know what high blood pressure is, but it's when there's a bunch of pressure on your arteries kind of pushing out, and it causes health problems. Some of the more common ones you guys might have heard of is it can cause heart attacks or strokes, coronary artery disease, or peripheral vascular disease, so all major bad issues. First thing is it affects 33% of Americans, which is a pretty big percentage, and it's the leading cause in one of the leading deaths in America. So leading death being heart disease, and hypertension is the leading risk factor for that. It's really important because it's called the silent killer, meaning so lots of diseases that you have signs and symptoms leading up so you can prevent it. We don't have that with high blood pressure. So once you've developed high blood pressure, there's no signs and symptoms leading up to it, you're at a great risk for all those things I just mentioned. So one way that we can prevent that from happening is checking your blood pressure often, so once a month. How many of you guys do that now? I would assume not very many. There's not very many people that do that. Home blood pressure cuffs run anywhere from $15 to $70. So it sounds a little pricey, but if you think about going to the doctor and paying for a heart attack or peripheral vascular disease, $15 or $70 doesn't sound too bad. So that's the first thing we can do is take our blood pressure once a month and record that, and as it's starting to get to a higher range, then we can go to the doctor and get things checked out. A normal blood pressure is anything 120 to 80 or below. So 120 blood pressure is written in a fraction, 120 being a systolic blood pressure, which means that's when your heart's contracting. So when you put this handy dandy cuff on, see them doing that? There's stethoscope. That first sound that you hear is when your heart's contracting, and that's the pressure when your heart's contracting. Second number is diastolic, and that's the pressure when your heart's relaxing. And so we can find out how well your heart's pumping that way. So I said 120, anything below 120 over 80 is normal, and there's also stages. So I have them listed up here, but pre-hypertension, meaning you're still safe, but we want to start doing something about it, is your systolic is going to be 120 to 139, diastolic is going to be 80 to 89. And then we go to stage 1, and stage 1 is going to be diastolic is 90 to 99, that's your bottom number, and systolic is going to be 140 to 159. And where we really don't want to be, stage 2, your systolic is going to be above 160, and diastolic is going to be above 100. That's bad news. Bad news bears. So with hypertension, atherosclerosis, that's the leading cause of hypertension. What atherosclerosis is it's a plaque buildup. So if you can imagine like a garden hose, it's kind of like an artery, so it's nice and big and round. As plaque starts to build up around that artery, it gets narrow, 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 builds up pressure, and that's what causes your hypertension. That's your leading cause. So that's one risk factor, and that's preventable. That's something we can do something about. I'm going to list some more that we can prevent. There's also obesity. We can prevent gaining that extra weight. Sedentary lifestyle, so we can prevent that by exercising. And smoking is a big risk factor, any kind of tobacco products, because that adds to our plaque buildup. And increased salt intake also is a big risk factor. Sodium is something if we take in, it holds on to water. And if you have increased water, your heart has to work extra hard to pump that huge amount of volume through. So those all don't sound like fun things that we have to take care of. There are some risk factors that we can't change, gender being one of them. Sorry men, but you're at a higher risk for blood pressure, high blood pressure. Gender, race, African Americans tend to genetically have more problems with blood pressure, and family history. So you can do everything right, and if your genetics say that you are doomed for high blood pressure, then you're at a higher risk for it. Also age. As we age, our arteries tend to get harder, so they can't expand as well. So like that constriction comes in handy, or doesn't come in handy again. It builds up that pressure by having a narrow artery. So how many of you guys exercise regularly, meaning 30 minutes a day, 5 times a week? Good. So that's difficult because we all have busy lifestyles. So some of the ways that we're probably not going to do since we're so busy, but options could be joining a gym. It does take money, but I don't know about you, but if I have to pay $40 a month, it might motivate me to go a little bit more. Also, if you don't have money or that time, maybe parking a little bit further at the grocery store so that you have to walk a little extra distance in, or even taking the stairs instead of the elevator. So they're just little things you can do throughout your day to help increase your physical activity. Another big thing is managing your stress. So we're never going to get rid of all the stress in our life, but if we can prioritize, maybe do some things like meditation or deep breathing, I don't know about the kind of stuff, but something like that, or muscle relaxation, go get a massage, have your boyfriend, husband buy you a massage. Maintain healthy weight, I talked about before. Usually they take a measurement called your body mass index, and it's just a chart, and what it does is it takes your height and your weight and it kind of puts you in this number category, and if you take yourself, or if you're in that category or the number range you need to be in, then you can decrease your risk for developing hypertension. We already talked about salt. I'm just going to give you a little example. This is almost 600 milligrams of salt, and this is what the average American takes in a day. So we're supposed to, in your foods, so processed foods, all those things contain all that salt, average 600 milligrams.
There's only 600 milligrams in that whole.
Yes, isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Yeah, actually I think there's 580. As I'm looking on here, looking confused, around. And we are only supposed to be taking in 2,400 milligrams a day. So, and take 6,000. I'm sorry, did I say 600 for this?
Yeah, okay.
6,000,
okay.
I'm so sorry,
Okay,
6,000
okay,
milligrams.
okay.
And we're only supposed to be taking 2,400 milligrams in.
Right.
So we cut this in half. That's what we should be doing. That's a crazy amount though, isn't it?
That is a crazy
You don't
amount.
realize how much you're taking in.
So,
It's mostly in like people will get those like healthy choice things too, and you don't realize they are low in fat and calories, but then the salt intake is
salt goes
crazy.
up, yeah. So, I mean, and it's amazing if you don't use salt in cooking, but you just sprinkle it on, you still get the flavor and the taste of salt.
Absolutely, yep.
It's just,
And then the last thing I had in here is don't smoke, and that's a hard one to do because people are going to have their habits and build, but they do offer at local health departments as well as hospitals and medical facilities smoking cessation classes, as well as doctors can prescribe medications that can help curb that craving. So doing all these things are going to help lower those risk factors, but that doesn't always solve your problem. So if you're one of those people that do all the things right, you may need, and it still doesn't work out, you may need some medications. And I just put a general list of what you might get, but basically there's going to be two types of medications you get. One's going to be called a diuretic, and it's called a thiazide is the general one they give you. And what that does is, we talked about salt, what it does is it excretes your salt, so you don't retain that water, meaning your blood or your heart has to work not as hard to pump out the rest of that volume to your body. And the other way, there's 4 more medications on here, but basically what they all do is they either keep your blood vessels from constricting, or they actually dilate them even bigger than what they are. So that way you have less pressure. So those are the medications that will help you with that. And I did include a little thing about diet. I'm not going to go into detail, but it's called the DASH diet, and it's for hypertension in particular, and it works on all the things that we've already discussed. So you're only allowed 2,300 milligrams of salt, and it goes through each category, such as your vegetables, fruits, grains, and it gives you serving sizes and amounts that you need to have in each of those. So those are just some, I think, I don't know what you guys think, but $15 to $70, checking your blood pressure once a month, changing a few things in your diet and exercise habits.
is there,
It's worth that.
can you tell us about the time? I mean, it changes throughout the day, right?
Correct.